Hello and welcome to our first tutorial for WordPressAcademy.ca. In this brief tutorial, we'll be reviewing the process required to increase the memory allocation for your WordPress website. From time to time, we have students who have problems with their websites mysteriously crashing. More than likely, the reason for this is because WordPress has not received enough memory in order for it to run properly. It's not generally understood by most developers, but WordPress consumes memory, just like any computer program would on your laptop or desktop computer. Obviously, the more programs you have running, the more memory it will take from the web server at the hosting company. Now, every single plugin that you have running consumes memory. And if they consume too much memory and WordPress does not have enough memory, then the plugins will cause your website to slow down or possibly even crash because it is not receiving enough memory for the PHP required to run the content management system. Well, what you can do is increase the memory allocated to PHP. And here we're looking at the codex for WordPress.org, where we see an article on increasing the memory allocated to PHP. And I'll read what it says. Also released in version 2.5, the WordPress memory limit, WP_memory_limit option, allows you to specify the maximum amount of memory that can be consumed by PHP. The setting may be necessary in the event you receive a message such as allowed memory size of XXX bytes exhausted. This setting increases PHP memory only for WordPress and not for other applications. By default, WordPress will attempt to increase memory allocated to PHP to 40 megabytes. Code is at the beginning of WP-settings PHP, so the setting in wp-config.php should reflect something higher than 40 megabytes. Now, what we see at the bottom of the screen is the code necessary for increasing PHP memory to 64 megabytes, increasing PHP memory to 96 megabytes, or even a maximum limit, which is 256 megabytes. In this tutorial, we're going to open and edit the WP config file. We're going to insert the memory increase code, replace the existing one with the new one, for example, 96 megabytes. We're going to save the file, and then we're going to upload it to a website via FTP. This shouldn't take long, but it's something that every WordPress developer needs to know. So let's get started now. Step number 1. Download the wp-config.php file. To do this, you'll need to use an FTP client. Log in to the root of your website. That's the public_HTML folder where your WordPress is installed. Download the file that is called wp-config.php. Download that to your computer. I don't care where it is. You're going to open it. You don't lose it, obviously. A lot of people download it to the desktop. But you'll need to open that file with Dreamweaver or another text editor like Notepad. Do not use WordPad. It might change the file format and will make it unreadable. Here you see the FileZilla FTP client software, which is what you would need to be able to log into your WordPress website and download the wp-config.php file. We won't go into how to use FileZilla in this tutorial. It is assumed that you know how to use FTP software and how to download the file to your computer, whether you're using a Macintosh or whether you're using Windows or Linux or Unix. Use whatever means possible to download the file because you will need to edit it. All right, now I have opened in Dreamweaver the wp-config.php file, and you can see the place where you will need to insert the line. That's right up here at the top before the bottom of this. It could be actually at the bottom, but it's very important that it be in this group of commands. At the very top of the package, you see, because Dreamweaver inserts line numbers, it's approximately around line 33, no farther than line 56 or 57. You can also use Notepad to edit this, but make sure it's in the area that talks about DB name, DB user, DB password, DB host, DB careset, and DB collate. So to summarize, you need to decide what memory limit you want: 64 megabytes, 96 megabytes, or 128 megabytes. Copy the code, define WP underscore memory underscore limit 64 megs or 96 or 128 from the WordPress website. I have actually listed it and indicated it on the slide that you're watching. It must be exactly as is written. If you would prefer to go to the WordPress Codex site and copy and paste it in, make sure that nothing is missing, that there are no spaces where there shouldn't be, that there's commas, underscores. Exactly as it is shown, it must be inserted. It should be at the top of the define list in WordPress. Above this code, you can add a code comment, which I've also listed on the slide. Make sure you put the /** at the beginning, at the end, because if you don't put that, then it will actually read that, and it may interfere with the activation of the WP config file. It will be seen as an error. So make sure things are exactly as I have indicated in the slide. Once you've finally inserted it, save the file as under new name as wp-config-new1.php. Then, using your FTP client that you used to download it, upload it back to your website. The reason we rename it, and we rename it New 1, is you may want a New 2, New 3, New 4, New 5. You'll see in the next step why it's important you name it a new name. Once you have uploaded the new file to your server, rename the existing wp-config.php to wp-config-old1.php. Then rename, right away afterwards, rename the new file you just uploaded to wp-config.php. This is very important. You don't delete the old file in case something goes wrong. Rename the one you just created so that it becomes the new one, or the one that WordPress is looking for. That's the wp-config.php. That way you always have the old file backed up. And if you have several of them, old 1, old 2, old 3, old 4, then you know you have a backup of the file just in case something goes wrong. When you're done, log out of your FTP program and check your website to make sure it is okay. Now, assuming that everything is okay and your WordPress website is running, we need to know if the memory limits have indeed been increased. Now, one of the easiest ways to do that is to use a plugin from the WordPress main site. So what I'd like you to do is install a plugin to monitor your WordPress memory and the PHP. This can be done by going to the free programs available in the WordPress Codex plugin directory. I've put the URL on the slide, wordpress.org plugins server IP memory usage. That's the name of the program, server IP memory usage. You can do a search for it and find it, or you can type in the URL as I've indicated on the slide. Install the plugin and check to see if the memory usage has indeed increased. Now with this plugin running, you can check periodically to make sure that your memory usage has not increased radically. This could happen if you install a plugin that is taking more memory than it should. So by leaving it running with this program, server IP and memory usage display, it will allow you to randomly check on the memory status of your website. You can leave it disabled. After you've done, you can disable it and re-enable it periodically, or you can leave it running full-time to check memory status every time you're in the back end of your website. It shows the memory and the server status. It requires very little resources. There are other free programs available on the WordPress Codex. Now you're done. It's done. Your memory should be increased on your WordPress website, and from now on you'll always know, with this program running, you will always know if you're running out of memory, and you can increase it again. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Very simple, very quick, very basic, but it's something that every person who has a WordPress website needs to know. Have a nice day. See you again.